Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a topic that has surprised military analysts, global audiences, and even Russia itself. When the spotlight turned toward Northern Europe, few expected Sweden, a country often associated with neutrality, diplomacy, and calm policy, to field a weapon so advanced, so precise, and so unexpectedly capable that it forced military planners to rethink large parts of their strategy. This is the story behind the Swedish weapon Russia never expected, a story that blends decades of engineering, strategy, innovation, and a mindset focused on survival rather than aggression. And in this video, we unpack how this unique technology evolved, why it matters, and what makes it far more than just a piece of equipment. It is a statement, a warning, and a remarkable achievement of Scandinavian design. To understand why this weapon matters so much, we must first understand Sweden's military philosophy. Unlike many nations that build massive armies or stockpile huge quantities of conventional firepower, Sweden has always taken a different path. Their mindset is simple. A small population must create highly intelligent defenses. They do not expect to fight long wars. They aim to prevent war entirely by making it clear that any aggressor, no matter how large, will pay a price. This mindset has shaped the way Swedish engineers think, and the result is a culture of designing weapons that are not just effective but shockingly unconventional. Sweden invests in systems that strike fast, hit hard, and deny the enemy the comfort of predictable strategy. This brings us to the weapon at the center of today's story. It is a weapon that blends stealth, precision, and reach into a package far smaller and more flexible than many would assume. When experts first analyzed its capabilities, they realized it had the potential to reshape how conflicts unfold in Northern Europe. Sweden isn't a superpower. It doesn't have a massive army. But what it has is something even more important: innovation. A willingness to think differently and create solutions that do not simply answer yesterday's problems but anticipate tomorrow's threats. This weapon represents exactly that approach. The Swedish armed forces built this system around one principle: survival against overwhelming odds. In any conflict scenario involving a larger adversary, Sweden expected that traditional defenses would be vulnerable. Large airfields could be targeted, naval bases could be attacked, command centers could be disrupted. Instead of trying to match power with power, Sweden aimed to give its forces the ability to strike from unexpected places and deliver sudden, devastating blows. The weapon became a cornerstone of this concept. It could operate from highways, hidden locations, improvised bases, and areas that an enemy might overlook completely. Mobility became its armor, flexibility its shield. While other countries focused on high-cost jets and massive fleets, Sweden engineered a weapon that turned the very geography of the Nordic region into an advantage. With forests, islands, rugged coastlines, and cold terrain, Sweden designed something that could fit into its natural environment, almost as if it were part of it. Enemy reconnaissance would struggle to detect it. Even if found, hitting it would be difficult, and even if one location were destroyed, another could take its place within minutes. This weapon was the embodiment of the Swedish concept known as BAS 90, which emphasizes dispersed operations. Instead of relying on one airbase, forces can be spread across dozens of small locations. A massive, unpredictable network. Its payload surprised many. Analysts describe it as a smart, high-precision strike option that punches far above its weight. Anyone expecting Sweden to rely on outdated or limited armaments was wrong. This system isn't just fast. It is equipped with advanced guidance that ensures accuracy even in complex environments. It can deliver powerful strikes against ground targets, infrastructure, mobile units, and high-value assets. The key is not brute force but precision. A single well-placed strike can do the work of many. And this weapon excels at exactly that. The element that shocked Russia the most wasn't just its accuracy, it was its adaptability. In modern warfare, adaptability is everything. A weapon that can be used in one scenario but not another is limited. But a weapon that can adapt to changing conditions becomes a strategic nightmare for opponents. Sweden built a platform that could be rapidly reconfigured depending on mission requirements. It could be equipped for anti-ship operations, deep strike missions, or tactical ground support. It could strike from low altitude, evade radar, and operate in environments where traditional jets might hesitate. This flexibility made it unpredictable, and unpredictability creates fear. Another aspect that caught Moscow off guard was its cost-effectiveness. Unlike many Western nations, Sweden didn't invest billions into creating weapons that only superpowers can afford. Instead, they designed a system that is relatively affordable yet technologically impressive. This makes it easy to maintain, easy to produce, and easy to upgrade. In other words, Sweden didn't just build a weapon, they built a scalable strategy. For an adversary expecting Sweden to rely on outdated defenses, the reality was far more surprising. One of the most remarkable characteristics is how stealthy and silent its operations can be. This weapon can appear quickly, strike decisively, and disappear before the enemy fully understands what happened. Missiles launched from it can travel long distances with precision and remain extremely difficult to intercept. In Northern Europe, where vast landscapes and complex terrain make detection challenging, this advantage becomes even more powerful. This means Russia cannot rely on traditional detection lines. They cannot assume they will see an incoming threat, and they cannot assume that Sweden lacks the capability to respond to aggression. For decades, Russia has relied on the idea that smaller neighbors would not possess weapons capable of challenging them, but Sweden broke that expectation. The level of engineering attention in this system, from its aerodynamics to its control surfaces to its propulsion, makes it far more capable than it appears at first glance. It can operate in tight spaces, launch with minimal preparation, and execute complex maneuvers that surprise its target. It turns Sweden's compact territory into a dynamic battle space. What makes this story even more fascinating is that Sweden designed the weapon with future conflict in mind. Sweden anticipated that any modern conflict would involve electronic warfare, cyber disruptions, radar interference, and signal jamming. So they engineered a weapon that remains operational even in these conditions. Its guidance systems include redundancies, its communication pathways are hardened, many of its operational features are intentionally difficult to disrupt. This resilience ensures that the system can still complete missions even when facing high-tech opposition. As Sweden moves closer to NATO integration, the implications of this weapon become even more significant. Its presence adds a new layer of complexity to Northern European defense. The Baltic region becomes a harder target. The Arctic approaches become more contested, and Russia now has to account for a weapon that can threaten high-value assets from directions they did not anticipate. Sweden, once seen as neutral and passive, now fields one of the most agile and versatile strike systems in Europe. But beyond its technical features, the deeper impact of this weapon lies in psychology. Warfare is not only about firepower, but about perceptions. When an adversary believes you are weak, they act aggressively. When they believe you can retaliate, they act cautiously. Sweden's weapon shifts this perception. It signals that Sweden is not simply relying on alliances or diplomacy. It has built independent strength. It can defend itself, it can deter aggression, and deterrence in many ways is the most effective form of defense. Throughout its development, Sweden ensured the weapon would remain relevant for decades. Its modular design allows for upgrades without major reconstruction. New sensors, improved electronics, and modernized software can be integrated seamlessly. This means the weapon grows more capable over time, not less. While some nations struggle to maintain aging fleets, Sweden can adapt rapidly, and a weapon that evolves is far harder for an enemy to counter. Its ability to operate in extreme weather also contributes to its strategic value. Sweden's climate is known for harsh winters, icy winds, and unpredictable storms. Many modern fighters and weapon systems struggle in such conditions, but Swedish engineering embraces the environment rather than fights it. The system remains dependable in cold weather, capable of launching and landing on icy surfaces and functioning within difficult temperature ranges. When visibility drops or winds rise, this weapon can still complete its mission. Sweden turns its climate into a tactical advantage. Another factor is the weapon's small logistical footprint. Modern warfare often requires massive supply lines, large crews, and extensive infrastructure. But this Swedish design minimizes requirements. A small team can maintain it. It needs little fuel. It does not rely on enormous hangars or runways. In crisis scenarios, speed and mobility matter more than raw size. And Sweden's weapon reflects that truth perfectly. If an enemy attempts a rapid invasion, Sweden can disperse its systems instantly. This ability to survive the opening stages of conflict is essential. It ensures Sweden never loses the ability to strike back. In addition, the weapon integrates seamlessly with Sweden's other military assets. Naval vessels, ground-based radars, surveillance planes, and satellite systems all feed information into a unified structure. This allows the weapon to receive real-time intelligence and make critical adjustments during missions. Sweden's defense network is highly advanced and interconnected, giving this weapon the awareness needed to navigate complex battlefields. When target data changes, it adapts. When threats appear, it responds. Russia underestimated this level of sophistication. They expected Sweden to rely on older technology, outdated designs, or limited strike capability. Instead, they encountered a platform that blends modern engineering with Sweden's strategic mindset. Sweden doesn't build weapons to intimidate others. It builds them to ensure independence. And when a nation invests in independence with intelligent design, the result is powerful. This weapon's impact extends beyond Sweden. Military experts around the world study it as an example of how smaller nations can defend themselves against larger powers. It demonstrates that innovation can overcome numerical disadvantage. It shows that flexible systems can be more important than massive fleets. It proves that a nation's greatest defense lies not in size but in strategy. Many countries now look to Sweden as a model of how to build smart defenses without bankruptcy. Another remarkable point is the weapon's low operational signature. Modern warfare relies heavily on detecting enemy movement. Satellites scan air bases, recon aircraft monitor runways, drones watch from above. But Sweden's weapon can hide in plain sight. Its operations blend into civilian infrastructure. Roads become runways, forest clearings become bases. Its small size and quick turnaround time allow it to vanish after completing its mission. Russia cannot rely on traditional surveillance to track it, which creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is the enemy of aggressive planning. Looking at the bigger picture, the weapon represents more than technology. It represents national identity. Sweden has always valued resilience, self-reliance, and ingenuity. These values shaped its defense policy for decades. Even during times of peace, Sweden prepared quietly and steadily. They studied threats, they refined their strategies, they built tools not for show but for survival, and when the world turned more unpredictable, Sweden was ready. There is also a symbolic aspect. This weapon signals that Sweden will not be intimidated. It refuses to be vulnerable. Instead of accepting its geographic position as a disadvantage, it turned that position into a strategic strength. Surrounded by cold waters, harsh winters, and vast forests, Sweden used its environment to inspire design. What others saw as limitations, Sweden saw as opportunities, and that is why this weapon is so successful. The system also reinforces the importance of collaboration. Swedish industries and military institutions worked closely to create a solution that integrates perfectly with national defense priorities. Engineers, pilots, strategists, and policymakers combined their efforts. This unified approach is rare and is a major reason why the weapon performs so well. When a nation aligns its industrial capacity with its strategic vision, impressive results follow. As tensions rise in regions like the Baltics and the Arctic, this weapon plays a critical role in stabilizing the balance of power. Potential adversaries cannot assume quick victories, they cannot assume easy targets. They must reconsider their calculations. Even a superpower must think twice before sending forces into a region where Sweden's weapon can strike with speed, precision, and surprise. For Russia, this weapon was unexpected because it challenges traditional assumptions. Russia is accustomed to dealing with nations that rely heavily on allies or follow predictable patterns. Sweden does neither. Its independence, combined with high-tech capability, disrupts strategic expectations. A weapon designed for mobility, precision, and rapid deployment creates scenarios where Russia's large, slower military assets face real difficulties. In conclusion, the Swedish weapon Russia never expected is far more than a piece of equipment. It is a striking example of how a nation can use intelligence, creativity, and resilience to protect itself. It embodies decades of innovation rooted in a philosophy of survival rather than aggression. It demonstrates that smart design can overcome numerical disadvantage, and it proves that even in a world dominated by powerful militaries, smaller nations can still shift the balance through ingenuity. Sweden's message is clear: strength comes not from size but from strategy. Power comes not from quantity but from precision, and deterrence comes not from fear but from capability. This weapon changes the way adversaries view Sweden. It reinforces national confidence, it strengthens regional stability, and it reminds the world that innovation is one of the most powerful forms of defense. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of Sweden's most impressive military achievements, make sure to stay connected for more content like this.